This is Donald Wade, FTT 100, Module 8 assignment. This is the final project. Today's date is 8 September 2024. Okay, as stated, this is the final assignment for FTT 100. Today I will be using my, this is a Colt. This is the combat unit 1911 government model with the rail. This is a Series 80 1911, and we'll get into what makes it a Series 80 here in just a minute. Schematics. The schematics I've pulled up are Brownell's website, as well as firearms guide. This is the Brownells, and this is the firearms guide schematic here, as well as stated in my previous video, I have tech mats for every make of firearm that I have, not necessarily every model, because a lot of them are very similar. As I stated, this is a Series 80. This schematic that I have here is a Series 70, and we'll go over here in a few minutes the differences between the Series 70 and the Series 80. So the 1911 is a single action only, semi-automatic, magazine fed, recoil operated handgun. It can be chambered in 9mm or 45. This one, however, is chambered in 45 ACP. All right. This is a magazine fed. This magazine is empty. Again, for the firearm itself, we will go ahead and physically inspect and visually inspect the chamber. This firearm has been shot this weekend at the range, and it is fairly dirty. Colts like to be clean. This being a combat unit, duty purpose, I tend to run a couple of range trips before I do a cleaning, and it hasn't failed me yet. Data manufacturer, I have to contact Colt and have them run the serial number on it. It is serial number CCU 00213, which means it is an early production 213th manufactured CCU. Puts it mid 2016 time frame. March, April, maybe May, but I'm going to contact Colt. Their serial number lookup yielded 0 results. So I will start doing the disassembly process and do a field strip on it. So first things first, ensure firearm is clear. Again, there is no ammunition in this workspace, but I'm going to start with depressing the recoil spring plunger and rotating the barrel bushing. One thing that makes this Series 80 is the dual spring. It uses the dual spring system. to mitigate recoil felt. And I like to use these grip mats for parts. Keep parts separate. Okay, next thing, I will rotate the barrel bushing in the opposite direction, allowing the barrel bushing to be removed. Next, I'll line up this little notch on the slide with the takedown lever and push it out, and I want to rotate it to pull it out, and I can allow the slide with the guide rod and I have the barrel and the slide. So at this point we've got a strip disassembled slide. The firing pin is still located in the slide. The slide plate, the safety plunger for the fire pin, and then the extractor is still installed. We have the barrel with the link, and then I don't know if you can see, but that barrel is pretty nasty in there. You can see on the lug there. We'll get that cleaned up and cleaned out. Then we have our frame, and as you can see in the frame, or here on the feed ramp, it's pretty gross, but we'll get that taken care of. And the action there, we'll get that looked at as well. Okay. We'll get this thing cleaned up and taken care of and get this video on. Tools that I'll use pipe cleaners, various picks to get into some of the harder to reach places. Okay, I've got some metal picks, double-ended, as well as a nylon pick. Brushes, I use softer brushes for the most part. The white brush being a little bit softer than the nylon blue, and then more aggressive would be brass. I tend to not use brass as much as it tends to take the finish off over time. I've got a nylon bore brush, copper bore brush on a T-handle. I've got a jag, Q-tips I'll use, and then I've got cleaning patches to use with the jag as well as the eyelet. I've got a precision oiler that is refillable. I've also got a bore snake that I could use. As far as fluids go and chemicals, I use for this program, for all of the SDI programs that I'm in, I use what is provided. I like to try new things, so I use the for SDI assignments, I'm using Carbon Destroyer from Modern Spartan Systems and Spartan Accuracy Oil. I like to test it out. My go-to for everything else, you know, is Hops 9. I use Hops 9 lubricating oil. I've got Go Juice. I've got 3-in-1 penetrating oil, multi-purpose oil. but generally it's Hops 9 and Lucas. I really like the Lucas oil lubricant. Those are generally my go-tos, but for all SDI assignments I'm going to use what is provided through them, the modern Spartan Systems Carbon Destroyer and Accuracy Oil. Also, as a reference, I've got the SDI Cleaning Firearms Lab. On page 30 starts the 1911 section. It goes through, you know, the breakdown, and then the cleaning of the different components. There's 5 pages worth of information here. So let's get to it. So we're going to start with the barrel. I'll wipe down the outside. Make sure to get inside the lug. Then I'll take a Q-tip just to kind of get inside a little bit. Pipe cleaner. I can kind of run it underneath on both ends. Now, behind the lug for the link, I've got some built up carbon there. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on this Q-tip here, and I'll rub that on there and let it kind of sit for a minute all the way around this lug. And something like that is where I will use the copper brush. I can break that out and not have to worry about damaging any sort of finish. And as you can see, all of that carbon that was built up there is now gone. Okay, and I'll start working inside the barrel. I'll show you here the carbon buildup that's around that edge on that breech face. Get a little bit of this carbon destroyer on there, and again I'll go back to the copper brush. And then go back and do a little wipe on it and knock off whatever's left. And I'll show again, all that around that lip is gone. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and I'll punch this barrel. I'll use a little bit of carbon destroyer on a brush, and I go breech side first and punch it through a couple of different times. Okay. Or I can use the bore snake if I wanted, but I'm not going to go with the bore snake just yet. I'll replace this tip with a jag. And I'll run a dry patch through first. Okay, and what that dry patch will do first is it'll get rid of any of the bigger particles out instead of soaking them. And then I'm chasing that carbon. Do a real quick inspection on it. I can use a light. And then now what I'll do is I'll run a clean patch with oil. And then I'll go back to the brush, and I do that process a couple of times just to make sure that everything comes out. Okay, and then again with the clean jag, or a jag with a clean patch. Dry patch. Still coming out dirty. So I'll again run a patch with oil on it to kind of break up that little bit that's left in there. Much better. So first dry, first wet, second dry, second wet. So dry first, wet first, dry first, or dry second, and wet second. And you can see the progression that it's decreasing the amount of carbon buildup that's inside the barrel. Again, I'll take a light and I'll shine it down, making sure the grooves and landings are clear. And in fact they are. I will run just on the end of this chamber here. There was just a little bit of carbon left there. And then I'll do a wipe down of the barrel. And that is my cleaning process of my barrels for my handguns. Looking good. Okay, next for slides, I take a couple Q-tips and I'll get all the big debris out, or I can take a brush and I'll start brushing. I'll take a soft brush and brush the big deposits. Clean the brush. Clean the rails. Breech face here. Q-tip, and I'll run the Q-tip through just to get anything that's loose. Clean the barrel lug, the notches here. So next I'll add some oil on a pipe cleaner, and I'll just kind of run it through these rails. Again, I'll take the soft brush and then just kind of clean some of this out of here. Then I can use a punch. I can depress Okay, so now we have our ejector, our safety plunger, and our safety plunger spring, and that will disassemble the slide. I'll run a thin Q-tip in the end to clean the spring cup. Just run the spring on the towel, and I'll just twist a pipe cleaner through to clean the inside of the spring. Like I said, we had the fire pin and the fire pin spring. We'll make sure to get all the carbon buildup off the fire pin. Same thing with the spring. I'll run a pipe cleaner through, just twisting it as I go along. It'll get inside the spring there. Put those in their own little tray. I got the ejector here. I'll clean it, wipe it all the bulk of the carbon off. Make sure to clean out the notches. The claw. then now I can work on the slide a little bit more. I'll run into the fire pin hole, the housing there. Down the extractor chamber there. Got a new pipe cleaner with a oil on it. And a new Q-tip, same thing, I'll run the oil on it. And make sure I get all that carbon out of there. Do a visual inspection. Okay, good to go. I'll run one more with oil through the ejector hole. All the way through. Okay. I'll run more through the fire pin chamber. Call it good. Okay, so once I have everything cleaned up the way I want it, I take a microfiber and I'll go on the outside and get off any residual oil that's been left out or any kind of carbon that's been left out on the top surface. Just kind of wipe it up and then move on to the frame. Same process with the frame. Take a soft brush, make sure it's, you know, relatively clean, and I'll just start brushing the from the rear moving forward. I'm not going to do a full tear down on this, but you can see on this feed ramp here, there's carbon buildup there. I'll use a Q-tip. There's the carbon. Okay, and what I'll do is just like I did the slide, you know, I'll get in there with the Q-tip, get all that up, all the bulk up, before I run in there with any kind of oil. I've found if you just go straight to oil with all the buildup in there, you end up chasing the clean. So I just get in there and get all the majority of it up. Get in here in this dust cover here. In these tighter places, I'll use a pipe cleaner. Again, soft bristle brush. I don't want to damage any finish that I have. Okay. So now I'll go in with Q-tips. Oil. And again, the carbon destroyer from modern Spartan systems, provided through SDI. Make sure to get the feed ramp really good. Chin. Use the blue. It's a little bit stiffer. Kind of break up some of that other more stubborn carbon. Give it a good wipe down. And then again, I'll do the microfiber towel to wipe down. And we have a clean feed ramp. Good to go. Okay, so now that everything has been reassembled, the first thing I will do is once again make sure it's clear, no ammunition on the table. I'm going to perform a functions check. So hammers back, single action only, hammers back, I'll engage the safety, squeeze the trigger, nothing should happen. Safety off. I'm going to release the beaver tail, Nothing should happen. I'm going to depress the beaver tail, pull the trigger, and the hammer will fall. Okay, so I'll do it one more time, but this time I'll keep the hammer or the trigger pinned to the rear and re-rack the slide. Listen for a metallic click for the trigger reset. Pin trigger. Metallic click. Again, on safe, nothing happens. Beaver tail removed. Engage the beaver tail, hammer will fall. And that is it. I applied the modern Spartan Systems Spartan Accuracy Oil. I applied it to the guide or the slide rails on either side, in the hammer housing here, and that is really it. Again, last thing, I'll take my microfiber cloth and I will go ahead and wipe the exterior and make sure there's no residual oils or excess oil that's, you know, running out anywhere. And that is it. That is the Colt combat unit, 1911 government model, the full 5-inch barrel, Series 80. Ready to go.